In this video, I'm going to teach you how to create a coaching package for $5,000 or more. Everyone wants to charge a ton for their coaching, but no one wants to put in the hard work of creating a package that's actually valuable enough to warrant those prices. And I've helped hundreds of coaches raise their rates to 5K, 10K, 20K, or even more. And I'm gonna teach you what I taught them in this video because there's really only 3 steps you need to follow to charge that much for your coaching. And it all fits into what I call the high-end offer pyramid, okay? There's 3 parts to the pyramid, and whether you're a life coach, a business coach, an executive coach, you don't have to be special, you just have to follow these 3 steps, and I promise you'll be able to charge more for your coaching. So let's dive in. Okay, so the high-end offer pyramid, each step of the pyramid depends on the foundation of the step below. And so the first part of the high-end pyramid is your promise. Your promise is the thing that you're saying the person's gonna get if they work with you. Say, I'm going to deliver this result as part of our coaching together. That's the promise. The second step up is your packaging. What you actually put into your offer, the timeline that you work with people on. And the packaging is gonna depend on your promise, right? Because it's very different if you're saying, I'm gonna help you build $1 million business. That's probably not gonna happen in 1 month versus I'm gonna help you lose 10 pounds. That could be a 2 or 3 month package. So we got the package as step 2, and step 3 at the top of the pyramid is your price. Your price depends on your promise because what you can charge depends on how much pain, frustration, desire there is for that result. And it also depends on your packaging, right? Because the more you include in your packaging, the longer you work with people, the more you're gonna have to realistically charge for that. So let's start with step 1, getting clear on your promise. A lot of coaches get stuck on this because they aren't clear on their coaching niche, right? And they don't wanna pigeonhole themselves to just focus on one thing in their business, and I totally get that. What I would recommend to you is you focus on creating a niched offer instead. So not niching down your entire brand, your entire self-worth, all of you down to one thing, but just focusing on one offer you can sell and stand confidently behind, okay? So how do you create a niched offer? There's really 2 things that we wanna focus on. So the first thing we wanna focus on is who do you wanna support? Who can you give the most value to? Is there a group of people that you know better than other groups or that you have more access to? And it makes me think of this quote by Alex Hormozi, which is solve rich people's problems, they pay better, okay? So we wanna choose a group of people that can actually afford to pay $5,000 or more to work with us. So we want to think about what's the group that, and it's usually people who are similar to us, right? What's the group that we can add the most value to? So if you help with weight loss and you're a busy mom, maybe busy moms is a good group to help. You can probably give them a bit more value than just your average Joe or your teenage boy or whatever it is. So who do you want to support? Who can you best help? The second thing you want to get clear on is what can you help the most with? So this should be a problem that is specific, it's tangible, it's compelling. People actually want to solve it. You don't have to educate them on why they should want to solve it. They already want to solve it. And an easy way to figure out this problem is to coach people on a problem that you've already solved for yourself, okay? Because that's something that you'll be intimately familiar with. You'll know the frustration you were in. You'll know how you were thinking about it. And you also know what you did to get the result that you got, okay? So the first step is we're getting clear on your promise. And what a promise means is it's saying, if you're this type of person with this type of problem, I can support you in getting this result. Obviously, we can't guarantee that every single person we work with is going to get a result because we're coaching. We're not actually doing it for them. It's up to them to take action. But we want to be able to say, hey, I can support you in this journey. I understand it, and I can use my coaching skills plus my expertise to help you get to this result. And if you want to charge $5,000 for the package, you're going to have to choose a problem or choose an outcome that's worth $5,000 to them, or it's costing them $5,000 to not solve. And so here's how you want to think about it. We want to sell surgery, not prevention. So a preventative problem like, hey, I want to build some healthy habits is very different from a surgical solution, which is like, you have a wedding in 3 months, you want to lose 10 pounds so you look good on this day that you're going to have photographers at and you're never going to get to redo. That's a surgical offer versus the healthy habits, sort of like, let's learn to exercise, let's build some strength. That's a preventative offer. They haven't yet seen it as an urgent problem to solve. If possible, we want to choose a problem, we want to choose a promise that has a financial ROI. So it's always easier to sell money than to sell coaching. So we want to be able to say, this can either save you money or make you money. money. Now, I realize if you're a health coach or relationship coach, it might not have a financial ROI, and that's okay. You can still make a ton of money. You can still charge $5,000 or more. But if you have a promise that you can deliver that actually creates the money, it's going to be a lot easier to sell your coaching, because you can say, hey, you're paying me, but you're going to get more money back on the other side. All right, we talked about the first rung on the pyramid, the first step, which was your promise. Once you're clear on that, we want to go up to step 2, which is your packaging. How are you actually putting together this offer? There are 4 main ways to structure a coaching engagement. You can sell single sessions, long-term packages, a monthly retainer, or what I call the high-end hybrid. So we're going to dive into each of them. I'll give you some of the pros and cons, and then I'll make a recommendation. So the first is single sessions. Single sessions are fine if you're getting started, right? You're saying, hey, it's $100 a session. We meet for an hour, and then they pay you and it's done. And they can either sign up for another session or not. This is fine when you're getting started because you don't really know how to sell yet. It's very low risk for the client and you can get your reps in. But the problem with single sessions is you have to keep selling them again and again and again, right? If the person stops buying the single sessions, they stop making progress. So it's much better to sell a long-term package where the person's pre-committed to spending a certain length of time with you, and you're going to get better results that way. So the other nice thing about long-term packages is you can get larger upfront payments. You can say, hey, you can pay me monthly or you can pay me upfront. And that's a big way we're going to get to 5K, because you're not going to make 5K on a single session probably, unless you're very, very in demand. But you could make 5K on a 3-month package, a 6-month package. And so I recommend starting off with a long-term package because it's the easiest way to convey to the client, hey, what you're buying right now isn't coaching sessions, you're buying a result, right? You're buying working together with me for a length of time in order to accomplish this goal that you want to accomplish. One of the cons to a long-term package is it doesn't have recurring revenue. Eventually, they're going to get to the end of the package and you're going to have to either say bye to them or, resell them on another package. And so it's not as flexible with the timeline either. Like if you're working in 3-month periods, you're never going to work for 4.5 months with someone. So that's why I recommend combining a long-term package with a monthly retainer. Monthly retainers are nice because it's a bit more of a flexible timeline. Ideally, you're going to charge the client automatically each month on the same day, and they'll keep going as long as it's useful, or they'll tell you that they're ready to cancel. It gives you a more flexible timeline, but the problem with that is if you start with a monthly retainer, then the client could quit after the first month, and really it's going to take 6 months to reach their goal, whether that has to do with their career or their health or their business. So I like to have a long-term package up front, and then I like to enroll them into a monthly retainer for ongoing support. And I call this the high-end hybrid because it's a hybrid between the long-term packages and the monthly retainer. So the first thing you want to do when you put together this high-end hybrid is you want to figure out what's the minimum length of time I need to deliver the promise that I made to this person. Is that 3 months, 6 months, 12 months? Obviously, people are going to go at different paces, but there's usually a minimum amount of time where you say, hey, if I don't have at least this long to work with someone, it's very unlikely I can help them achieve their goal. So if you're a business coach, maybe you work with someone until they hit 20K per month. If you're a career coach, maybe you work with someone until they, find work that they love and actually land that next job. Now, at the end of the long-term package, first we're just selling the long-term package, the 3-6 month thing. But at the end of that package, when they're finishing up, we're going to try and re-enroll them into a monthly retainer. Obviously, don't re-enroll them into a retainer if they're complete and they don't need your help or you don't want to keep working with them. But if it serves them, we want to say, hey, you just worked with me for 6 months and we accomplished this goal, or we're right there, we just need a little bit more time. What I'd suggest is that we work together on a month-to-month basis. So no long-term commitment. Let's just start with the next month and you'll be billed automatically to continue getting my support and continue to build off the momentum that you have. This is really nice because a lot of people are concerned when they end their coaching package. They're like, hey, I've really enjoyed getting support. I don't want to risk going without support. It's lower risk for the client to do a monthly retainer than to sign up for another big package because it's just month to month. And it's an even easier yes for them if you can lower the price a bit from the monthly price of your package. So for example, let's say you're charging, $2K a month for your package, or they pay up front and it's $5K. Now, what you could do in the monthly retainer is instead of making it $2K a month and they get the same number of sessions, you could say, hey, instead of 2 sessions a month, we're just going to do 1 session a month, right? And it's just $1K a month. So it's going to be a lot easier for them to stomach that, especially in, comparison to what they've already been paying you monthly. And they can just say, okay, great. I don't need as much support now. And this is a much lower investment. So I'm good. Let's do it. The final thing you can consider here is adding a guarantee. Now, this is a controversial topic because a lot of people say, well, if you guarantee your coaching, then you're disempowering the client. And also, what if they don't get the result and then you're refunding them, right? And you already spent all that time. This is going to be up to you and it's more of an advanced move. But there's 2 types of guarantees. You can do an unconditional guarantee, meaning you just get your money back no matter what, or you can do a conditional guarantee, meaning in our contract, I've said you need to do X, Y, and Z in order to qualify for a guarantee. guarantee. And the nice thing about a conditional guarantee is you can stipulate the things you know that they're going to need to do to get results. You can say, hey, you got to show up to all of the sessions. You got to take action in between on what we agree upon. You have to watch this specific training video and then actually go do what it says, right? So once you start to see patterns of your most successful clients, you can work that into a conditional guarantee, and it'll lower the risk for potential clients. If you say, hey, at the 3-month mark out of 6, if you haven't reached this milestone, you don't have to pay for the second half. Or if you get to the 6 months and you still haven't reached the goal, I'll work with you for free until you do, assuming that you've met these 3 criteria. So this is something to experiment with, to play around with. It can be very, very effective if you're good at what you do. And you've got to be careful to not disempower the client if you decide to use it. All right, so now we have the length of time for that initial package. It might be 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, something in between. We have to decide what we're doing each month as part of that package. So make a list of all the ways you could support them, and then we're going to narrow it down. So you might have, we're going to meet 3 times a month for coaching calls. I'm going to give them email support in between calls. They're going to get access to this library of trainings that I've already created. Maybe there's like a retreat at the end if you're going really high end. So we're writing down all the options. And then we want to look at that and say, which of these are going to move them forward towards the promise I'm making? Which might not be necessary? Which might not be helpful? And am I willing to do all of these, right? So you're going to put together a package that serves the promise that you created, which is why it's the second step up on the pyramid. And then once you have these bullet points, I recommend like 3 to 5 things max that you include in your package. Let's keep it really simple. Once you have those things, you can write those into your contract for, hey, here's what you get. And you can obviously share them on sales calls in terms of, hey, here's what we're doing during the 6 months to help you reach that goal that you have. If you want an example of pricing and packaging that my clients are using right now successfully, I've put together 3 of them in a PDF, and it's free. So you can go to the description, you can download it below. If you want to see what are people charging, what are they including in the packages, what's an example of a promise, you can go look at that PDF and kind of reference that to build your own. All right, the final step is choosing your price. This is the top of the pyramid. We've gotten clear on your promise, we've gotten clear on your packaging. So now we have to actually put a price tag on it. So there's a few ways to choose your price, but remember, this whole video has been about, can we get to 5K minimum in terms of what we're charging? That's what I'd consider a high-end offer, 5K and beyond. So there's a few ways we can figure out the price. The first is you can play the higher lower game. I got this from Michael Neal. And what you do is you write down a price. So maybe you write down 5K next to your packaging, what you're going to deliver and your promise. And then you're going to look at that number and you're going to say, all right, my coaching package is 5K. And you only get 3 options. You can say higher, I need it to be higher, lower, that feels like too much, or just right. So let's say you say higher. So then you date, all right, 5,500, lower, 5,250. Just right. So this is a way where you can tap into your intuition, because the truth is pricing is something you choose. No one can tell you what to charge. It has to be something you're going to feel confident proposing. You might feel a little nervous, right? It makes sense if it's kind of on the edge of your comfort zone. That's a good price. But if you're not confident in it, you're not going to be able to sell with it. The second thing you can do to choose your pricing is to use the ROI test. So remember, we talked about if your coaching has a financial return, then you can actually use that to build it into your promise. So if you charge 5K and you can say, hey, you only need to get 2 additional clients with my help as a business coach in order to make that money back, that's a great deal, right? That makes sense. And so figure out what can you reasonably help them generate and what's that worth to them. If it's not a financial promise, you can still think of it through the lens of return on investment. You can say, hey, if I help someone lose 20 pounds, is that realistically worth 5K to them if they've been struggling with it for their whole life? Yes, that makes sense. And you can use that to sort of validate your pricing. On the other hand, if you're charging someone $5,000 to teach them to knit and you're meeting with them once a year for 2 years to teach them, it doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't fit the promise. Once you actually get out into the wild with your offer and you're proposing this to people on sales calls and you're collecting some data, a great way to test your pricing is to look at your conversion rate. How many people end up clients out of the number of consults that you have? So if you convert 25% of consults into clients, that's a pretty good percentage actually. All the way up to 50%, right? Half of the clients you talk to, you convert into clients. That's a good range, 25 to 50%. If you're falling into that range, your pricing probably is right for the moment. If you're converting fewer than 25%, less than 1 out of 4 clients, you either need to lower your pricing or you need to increase your sales and marketing skills. And if you're converting more than half of the people you talk to, your pricing actually might be too low. You might want to raise it even more. The final way that you can test your pricing is by using what I call the capacity equation. And it goes like this. Your capacity equals your monthly revenue goal divided by the monthly revenue you get from each client. So for example, let's say your monthly revenue goal is $10,000 and you're charging charging $1,000 per client per month, right? That means you need 10 clients to reach your 10K goal. So that's your capacity, is 10 clients. And you can say, okay, if I'm working with 10 clients with the package I put together, is that reasonable? Am I going to burn out? Do I have enough time to deliver all of that? And if so, then that makes sense. The math makes sense. But if you're saying, hey, I have a goal of $20,000 and I'm charging $100 per client per month, that's a lot of clients, right? You're probably going to burn out. So make sure that the price you're charging makes sense with your income goal and the number of clients you're able to work with. Obviously, the more you charge, the fewer clients you have to work with, and that leaves you more time to get those clients better results. You can deliver more to each client, you can create better case studies, and that allows you to raise your pricing even more. So it ends up being an upward spiral the more you're able to charge. And this is why some of my most successful clients raised their rates significantly while they worked with me. So my client Angelina doubled her prices after she clarified her niche. Rachel quadrupled her prices and she filled her client roster in just 2.5 months. My client Ryan had his first 10K month working with me after he raised his prices, and now he's making 100K per month. Chase doubled his revenue while cutting his client hours in half. My client Corey landed her first $9,000 client in the first few months of working with me. And Max went from charging $125 an hour to selling 6K packages up front. So if they can do it, you can do it, but you got to follow these 3 steps. And if you want some support from me to take a look at your packaging, your pricing, your niche, then you can apply for a strategy session. So click the link below or go to gregfaxon.com/apply. And if you qualify, we'll hop on a call and I can take a look at this and kind of give you a second opinion on whether it makes sense and it's likely to work. And remember, if you want some examples of business coaching and life coaching packages that my clients are using right now, exactly what they're charging, what they're including, I've put together that PDF for you for free. It has 3 examples that you can use as a template to build your own packaging off of. So go to the description, click that link to download the PDF, and thank you for watching the video. Oh, one more thing before you go. If you want to charge 10 times more than your competitors, so if you want to take this to really the next level and be the most premium offering in your niche, then watch this video here because I break down exactly what you need to get right in order to do that, to raise your rates significantly. So go click that video. I'll see you in the next one.